infant, followed by the whining school-age child, who next transforms into a lover and then a soldier, until he becomes wiser and assumes the role of the wise justice, and able to balance your previous experience against like the new unknown life before you diminish and slip into your lean and slippered pantaloons, and then eventually dissolve into a second childhood and mere oblivion. It's great, right? So, applied to teaching, however loosely, this means that all of us are really actors. We're all playing a part. We're coming and going as prescribed in some master-like script, and role-playing our way through the day. Sound familiar? Teaching the whining children as we transform from lovers to soldiers to wise justices. And, you know, I think there's a bit of truth there. Maybe a lot. So, for those of you who have forgotten your Shakespeare, you know that the play is a comedy. If people end up married in the end, I actually think that's funnier, but it's a comedy if you're married in the end. And it is a tragedy if people end up dead. That's how we know. It's a history, like if there's a war, it's a history play. There aren't too many of those. So in the CCI English department, we're pretty keen on the tragedies. So ill-fated, forbidden love that you can't live without. Oops, sorry, advanced preview. We really like that, right? So Romeo and Juliet. And we're like all about punishment for taking power that isn't yours, right? Grade 10, negative consequences because of crappy family dynamics and personal paralysis. That's Hamlet, used to be grade 11. And then finally, bringing about your own death and the death of your offspring, too, of course, because you foolishly chose to live in a misogynistic and entitled manner that was no longer supported by the people around you. Like King Lear, he just couldn't read the room. Okay? So we like these. And in all the years I've known Christine, in all theories that we've ever shared about teaching kids and work, trying to make sense of how all the parts fit together, and what our role is, and what it's supposed to be like, and how we're all going to come together in the end, I can honestly say it never occurred to any of us that we might just be cast members in the equivalent of a real-time reality TV show as Shakespearean comedy. Nobody's getting married today by the end, by the way, but it's a comedy. Like, we consider the tragic elements quite often, and for sure, a tragic comedy, because we always seem to find the humor in things. But an out-and-out sitcom, situation comedy, no. We are serious people doing serious work. So, yeah, as you can see, serious work, right? So, you know, I think at one point we were like all involved in the high drama of, Mason, you're not going to get any of these references, I'm sorry. The ill-fated Boston Public, for sure. Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds, you remember? Maybe, right? A secret teenage spy dystopian made-for-TV miniseries in an alternate universe fueled by AI and ChatGPT? For sure, that's happening. Highly likely. But comedy? No, not really. Unless you count the many, many awkward coming-of-age stories for which we've all had recurring roles. So, hindsight is 20/20, right? And so it's really become clear to me that this reality show we find ourselves starring in, and you are about to exit from, the daily one, the one we thought contained lots of high and serious drama, has evolved into a Ted Lasso-like sitcom. We began with something that looked like Friends, and then we tossed on a little Saved by the Bell, you know, pause the time. And then somehow we evolved to some Mad About You with a side of Home Improvement, with Wilson talking over the fence and never knowing who he really was, and transforming into our own homegrown version of some kind of Arrested Development with giant chunks of The Office and Mr. Bean thrown in. And finally, here we are, Ted Lasso, like, sprinkled, you know, with, like, the occasional moments of Shorzy's mantra, go till you can't go no more. Right? And now, as you exit from the situation comedy, heading on down the road to Miami, home of the Golden Girls, let's just take a moment to remember. Picture it.
Oh.
It's September 9th, 1998. the Tuesday after Labor Day, and my first day as a student teacher at Cobourg Collegiate Institute East. This day, traditionally celebrated by parents and mourned by students as the first day of school, was in fact the 5th day of school, since it was the one and only recorded incidence in the history of the then newly created Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board that classes were scheduled to begin a full week early before Labor Day on September 1st. We can thank all the students that year who chose not to show up until the Tuesday after Labor Day, for that being classified as a failed experiment not to be repeated. The same can't be said about the D-Stream Grade 9 courses, however, which were in their last year of implementation at this time, and were also labeled a failed experiment at the time. So, while the young Matt Brady was sitting in his grade 12 English class at Cobourg Collegiate Institute East, 26-year-old Christine Stone, now safely employed with a permanent contract, was teaching her grade 12 advanced English class down the hall in room 204, now 209. The senior academic course was an honor that was entrusted to her since she just completed her English Honors Specialist course that previous summer. And after successfully completing the 2 years of teaching at Cobourg Collegiate Institute East, needed to get said permanent contract. Rick Essex was the principal, having recently replaced Murray Halloran, and his trusty VP sidekick was Bev Archer, and rivalry between the East and West high schools was at an all-time high. Christine's children, Jake and Bray, were merely twinkles in her eyes. And she and her husband, John, were living a carefree, married with children life. Living in an apartment with 2 cats, Bailey and Colby, in the bustling hub of Port Hope, having just returned from a vacation on the East Coast that summer, where they had a chance to put their scuba diving certifications to test in the Atlantic Ocean. Christine was assigned to teach a grade 11 general class in period 2, as well as a grade 10 split junior drama in period 4 that semester, but she confided in me being an English teacher was her first love because it was important work and a class that kids took seriously. Christine became one of my associate teachers that fall, and I had the privilege of learning and working with her, first with her grade 12 class, and then with her grade 11 general class, until Christmas break that semester. The foundation of much of my teaching practice was from my experience working with her in that classroom. The classic Fred Jones, pause, look, take a breath, say nothing, and wait. Move probably saved me a full 2 years of trial and error in the area of classroom management alone. My family quickly began to refer to this as my teacher look. If you know, you know. From Christine, I learned to use success criteria to grade student work before achievement charts and growing success existed. Achievement charts actually arrived on the scene the following year. I'm not that old. Old, but not that old. But Christine's always been ahead of the curve that way. I also learned how to develop rapport with students and build community in the classroom in a million small ways, some of which I couldn't even articulate to you today. But one only has to observe Christine at work a short time to see the ways this is embedded into everything she does with students. No one talked much about curriculum in those days, and learning goals and success criteria were not yet invented either. But nonetheless, I learned how to chart a semester for a course, how to plan concurrently for days, weeks, and a month, at the same time, to methodically create spiraling and scaffolded opportunities for students to build their skill sets in English. I learned how to talk to parents from the master herself, the ins and outs of becoming, what was I saying? Sorry. And the ins and outs of becoming part of the school and staff community. I learned how to set the bar high and how to encourage kids to reach further. Grow a community of learners based on mutual respect and expect excellence from everyone. I learned how to bring it, how to rise, which is a joke between us, but like, we need to rise, right? And how to go till you can't go no more. Spirit Days Halloween costumes, her Halloween costumes were legendary, by the way. Staff socials, Christmas parties, the Terry Fox run, and even the Christmas parade were all embraced with enthusiasm. But perhaps the thing we embraced the most on the daily was lunch. Lunch was our chance to gather, either in the English office with our English colleagues, or in the staff room, where the ladies, as we refer to them, Faye Richards, Mary Lou Gladfield, Pauline O'Dwyer, and Kathy Dawson, and others, would gather for lunch, swap tales about the students and their classes, and share tips and tidbits about teaching and life and the news and the latest Oprah or W5 episode. All of the life problems were solved at lunch. And we aspired to be like the ladies, who we refer to as the Golden Girls at times, all very with much fondness. But we aspired to be them, and Christine especially wanted to be as lucky as Faye and Mary Lou to be able to spend her entire career at one school, the East, and build something of which she could be proud. The early days of our friendship and our professional careers, one of Christine's often said phrases, she used to say this to me all the time, was like we would be wondering about how something would turn out, and she'd say, if only I had my crystal ball, I could tell you. But I don't think, had we actually had said crystal ball, that we would have ever been able, we would have seen this day, but we could have never guessed at all of the many jots, the side trips, the detours, the very busy dragons, the snakes, the ladders, and lockdowns that were all part of the journey that brought you to this day. So today, a mere 29 years later, or 15,242,400 minutes of life, having taught an estimated 4,100 plus students for 55 semesters, while having directed more than 50 shows, 9 of which were musicals, emceed approximately 23 graduations, worked for 7 different principals, instructed 7 IB English cohorts with almost 100% success rate, helped form and supervise the first GSA at CDCI East and supervised that for more than a decade, organized countless arts trips to New York, Boston, Toronto, Stratford, and elsewhere, received an award from the Famous People's Players for her development of a blacklight theater program for students in LLS, survived 1 pink slip, 1 amalgamation, and 1 pandemic, while having shared more than 5,100 lunches. She has achieved exactly what she set out to do, leaving a legacy that is the epitome of respect, excellence, and community. Like Ted Lasso, you understood that your job wasn't to win it for others, but to help others realize how they could come together and win it themselves. As a new teacher, you took a job in a new place where you didn't know anyone, not even coach, and rose to the challenge. You learned the rules of the game, developed lasting, genuine friendships with the people around you, mentored others along the way, inspired others with your positive professional attitude, words of encouragement and advice, like, it's time to rise, people, speech, and continue to believe in the people around you and their possibilities, even in the darkest. And a few times, it got very dark. In the face of turmoil, you projected calmness. You're the Mona Lisa on the surface, even when the screen was reaching inside. Modeling the professionalism for others that you aspire to achieve without losing your compassion or your empathy. Even better, you managed to find humor in these situations afterwards. And your retelling of these moments might have made every difficult moment we needed to wade through just to hear you to retell that story with the voices, with the gestures, with the mannerisms, and the dramatic pauses. Let me just say, these stories always made lunch, a good lunch, a better lunch, a great lunch even. And now that the curtain is closing on your proverbial and literal exit, and it's here and it's upon you, my friend, I hope that you exit from this show and find an entrance into one of your most desired roles, be it Blanche, Dorothy, Sophia, or Rose, or even better, as the new director of the Golden Girls, the next chapter. You have more than earned your place on the show. All I ask is that you keep the seat warm on the retirement bus for me and save me a bedroom in that house in Miami. I'll be along in a few years, hoping that you'll share all your best secrets to get me started in retirement. Congratulations.